to Scrappin with Sheri and virtual crop sketch number 3 from the November 2025 virtual crop. Now I know in the last virtual crop sketch video I said you'll probably see all Christmas, but my plans changed and I had some pictures from my kids that I wanted to get done. So we're going to be working today with not a whole collection at all. This is going to be my background paper and everything else is tied together by this paper. This is from the Hit the Road collection. These two papers are actually left from one of the simple page kits. I had pulled the backgrounds from this to use on another page, but I love the blue in this. Although this orange is not working, we're going to try to cover that up, but I like the blue. I like the little bit of pattern to it and the way it matches the blue there. And then I'm going to be using anthracite shimmer. This is something that was a specialty purchase at some point in time, and I purchased lots of it because I like it. It's not quite as stark as black, but just a nice look. So I really like that. So I know that these two Hit the Roads are going to be my backgrounds. So I'm just going to lay those aside for now. Now looking at this sketch, the anthracite shimmer is going to kind of be my background here behind my pictures. And I need one that is 7 1/4 by 10 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out of one of these. And I'm going to cut my 10 1/2 first, which means I need to cut off 1 1/2 inches. So there's my 10 1/2. And then I need 7 1/4. And I'm just going to measure that out. Now, something I noticed the other day, and some of you may be very aware of this, some of you may not. Sometimes when I am laying my paper down on here, I get it straight here, but here it's not quite straight. And if you're measuring it down here, your paper might tend to move a little, give a little play there. If you will put the arm out, you have a little arm on the bottom of this trimmer, and most of you may or may not know about that. But if you'll put your arm out, that will help to stabilize that end to make things a little bit straighter. And I used to do that all the time, and then I found that I got lazy and I quit doing that. But if you don't have that arm out, sometimes this will move in just a little bit, and it will make your cuts not quite so straight. So, you know, some of those times when I say, oh, I don't know what's wrong with this cut, it's probably the paper. Well, it may not be. It could be user error. So I've got that piece. Now, over here, I need an 11 1/4 by 1 3/4. And I don't quite have enough to do it with this. So I am going to go ahead and cut that off of one more sheet. Now, I hate to use another sheet for that, but in this case, it's something I'll use again later. Now, my 1 3/4 mark is, there's my 1/2 inch. So 1 3/4 is over here. It's the last mark before you run off the edge of your trimmer. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the 1 3/4 first. And then cut that at 11 1/4. And that's just so you don't use a whole big sheet of paper here. So I really just need to cut off 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to do that right here. It's almost to the little 2 at the bottom. So I've got those two pieces. Now let's see what else we're needing. From this piece, remember the blue is what I'm actually after here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off this pink because I know I don't need the pink. But, you know, it'll come in handy on something down the road. I left just a little edge of that pink. I'm going to slice that off. Don't you love that this trimmer can slice those little bitty pieces like that? And I need a 4 by 12. That's going to be my blue here. So I'm just flipping this over. And that's going to give me just a hair of orange right there. But I think if I turn it this way, I can cover that up. That's my goal anyway. And then we've got that left over. And then for this one, I need this piece to be 12 by 7. So I really need a 7 inch of this blue. And we've got enough room to do that. You know, I'm going to go back and do it the same way I did the other. I'm going to cut the pink off first. And then do my 7-inch from this side, hopefully giving me just a touch less of this orange I've got to get rid of. Now that should be all of our cutting with our trimmer. So let's lay these out and see what we actually have. We have our 2 backgrounds first. This is going to go through the middle, and I think I'm going to do it this direction because I think it'll be easier for me to journal, embellish something right there. I'm going to put this right up against the edge here. We've got our 2 strips that are going here. And then we've got this larger piece right here. And that's pretty good contrast. What I looked at was something that would contrast against this background. This background was way too busy for me. I don't have much of this collection left. So it was kind of one of those things where I wanted to use it just to finish it up somewhat. Now it is still available, so you know, if I need more of it, I can always find it. But sometimes my paper organizer where I keep my newer collections just gets too full. And we have so many collections that come out. Sometimes I just have to finish up one to get some space in that organizer. I see people who talk about having thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of paper. And I am not one of those, strictly because I work with the paper I've got. You see that in all these videos. I'm piecing and parting collections to put them together. And when my paper organizer gets full, I start trying to get rid of things. Either giving it away, using it up, doing something with it to get rid of it. My organization style is such that when I get too much of something, it's time to get rid of something. And I know that goes against the grain for most crafters, but I can't handle too much visual clutter. It overwhelms my brain. And I don't know if that's a situation for you or not, but for me, it's reality. So I try to keep everything at a manageable level. Papers, punches, everything. And I think that's pretty nice. Remember, that orange is going to go away. We're going to hide that. But I've got all of the paper pieces. The next thing is borders. We've got 2 borders here and a border here. Now remember, when you're looking for borders or any kind of accent pieces, the best place to go is back to something of your collection. So for me, this Hit the Road collection, I still have these borders left. And this is a little road trip that my oldest son and his wife took. They went up to Nashville. And so I think this little road would be really cute there. We're also hoping to use it to cover up that little orange piece we got going. And it worked. Just brings in a little more of that black and a little more of the yellow. And then over here, I'm going to use the little road sign arrows. And if you look at the sketch, these borders go all the way out. Even though we stopped the paper here, the borders are going all the way out. And I am making my arrows face out just to kind of point you to the other direction. And you know I love using sticker borders or pre-done borders. But Border Maker cartridges are great in this case as well. I really like the colors of the pre-done borders. So we've got the borders done. Our next step really is to add our photos on. Now, if you pay attention really closely, you're going to notice something kind of weird about my photos this time. And I did pull mats. Again, these mats are from the Hit the Road collection. So it shows putting mats behind these 2 photos. And I've done that using the yellow. That worked out really well because they went to see the Nashville Predators play hockey. And their colors are yellow and blue. I did cut these 3x3 photos. Now, here's where you're going to see a difference. I did not go ahead and pre-mat these in white, which I normally do. But I decided that they were okay as is this time. So I left them just the size it called for. Now over here, my pictures were a little bit different. I had the sizing to do the 6-inch high, but I wanted to do a few more photos than what they showed. So I cut them down a little bit side to side. These are about 3 inches side to side. I did go ahead and mat these in the white like I normally do. And I'm debating here because my pictures didn't really lend themselves to just being 2 4x6s that way. And I wanted to go more like this. Now my thought process was to add this little journal box right in there. And I think that's going to work perfectly. I may even scoot it over a hair and trim off the edge. But then I can write about their trip. So let's stick our photos down. And then we've got the fun part. That's the embellishing. Now, I know a lot of people do not use the mats that come from collections. I'm going to tell you, I'm a big fan of those mats. Strictly because you can use them just as photo mats. When you run out of the paper in a collection, you've got the mats. You don't have to use all of them as titles. You can cover up things. I think people just don't understand the versatility of these mats. I should make it my singular mission in life to get everybody to use photo mats because they are awesome. And I will probably do, I was going to say I would do a touch of journaling over here. I'm not sure how much journaling I will have. You know, it's not my trip. But it's pretty funny to me. They went to see the Predators play, and then they drove around and they saw Vanderbilt. And we are huge college football fans in the South. Vanderbilt is not our team. So it's kind of funny to me that they took the time to go to Vanderbilt. But my son just loves sports of any kind, basically. So I shouldn't be surprised. He just wanted to see their field, their setup, what things look like there. All right, so we've got those on. And I'm just going to kind of center these in my blue space here. Top to bottom. I like the way this is turning out. I just wasn't sure. You know, you get in your head how you think it's going to look, but it doesn't always go the way you anticipate. And I'll just let that go off the edge. We've effectively covered up all the orange that came off with that little paper. Those little papers from the Simple Page kits. So I'm thrilled about that part. And then let me pull a few embellishments. I've got the Hit the Road with the Suitcase. And I think my thought was to put it right down here. Not sure if I like that or not. There it goes off. So maybe we want to add some embellishments here. Why don't I look at that sketch again and see where they put embellishments. They have some over here with a title. Yeah, we could do that and cluster it over here with our little journaling box. And then I knew that I wanted to put some here. These hockey sticks are from the On the Ice. It's just an embellishment pack. There wasn't a paper pack or anything that went with that. But I knew from the get-go that this was something I wanted to include. I've never gotten to use hockey embellishments before, so that was kind of fun. And I'm going to tape down these little hockey sticks. I guess they're called sticks. I don't know. Let me grab my tape over here, my repositionable. So I'm going to tape the back embellishment. My goal is really just not to cover up anything important in my pictures. Those are kind of big, but they're cute. Because these are embellishments and not stickers, I'm not having to use a whole lot of foam square with that. Same here, just one in the middle is fine. I thought this might be a good embellishment here because obviously a fight broke out. And then these two embellishments are from the Hit the Road collection. as was my little journal tablet thing. And there's more on this trip, so pointing off the page doesn't bother me because the next page will be more of their trip to Nashville. All right, so what do you think? We did the sketch. Everything is very similar to the norm, to the sketch, except these pictures are sized a little differently. In retrospect, I think I probably would have been better to go ahead and mat these in white, and I probably will do that. I was thinking about why I chose not to do that because I printed these pictures a little while back, and I think the reason I didn't mat them in white is so I could get 2 on a 4x6 sheet when I printed them rather than wasting paper. So I think I'll go back and add tiny little mats behind these and do my journaling. But otherwise, virtual crop sketch number 3 from November 2025 is complete. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned next time. It will not be a Christmas sketch again because I found some family pictures of my youngest son and his family that I just really am dying to do. So come back next time, and until I see you then, happy scrapping.